What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris. This is Craig with me, and this is Sports Talk
Why did I
Detroit.
do that? I don't
And
know
if you're new to the channel, we make videos about the Lions and the Pistons, Detroit sports. And today we're going to talk about the Detroit Lions free agents this upcoming offseason, who we would keep and who we would let walk. Craig, who do we have free agent wise? Kind of break that down for us, and then we'll go through a few players.
Yeah, so here's what we're looking at. First off, when I start talking about free agents, the first thing I think of is Madden. Like, who am I keeping? Who am I getting rid of? This is real life. It's different. We also have to consider roster building. Are they a locker room guy? Aren't they? All that good stuff. But what I would love to talk about right now is the Lions have three types, but for this video, for the most part, we're going to stick on two. You have restricted free agents and unrestricted free agents. And basically the difference on that is you have the unrestricted free agent, which means they're exactly what it sounds like. They're not restricted. Anybody can make offers to those players anytime they want. The restricted free agent, if they're a Detroit Lions restricted free agent, we have the right of first refusal or draft pick compensation. The best example of this, Kenny Golladay last year, right? He was a restricted free agent. We had the right of first refusal. And because we did not re-sign him, another team signed him for big money, this upcoming draft, we will very likely get a third-round pick for him. So just something to think about with a restricted free agent. If we don't keep them and somebody else pays them good money, we will likely get a pick down the line too.
Okay.
So factor that in. Yep. For sure. All right, but I'm going to just start this because we had like 19 of these guys.
Yeah, we signed a lot of people on a one-year deal last year, and some of those guys produced. Some of them we never heard from them again. So, yep, exactly.
Absolutely. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go through like 7 or 8 guys. I'm just going to power through them. I'm going to be like, don't want them, don't want them, don't want them. And if you disagree with me, just let me know. Okay. We have defensive tackle Joel Heath, linebacker Sean Dion Hamilton, defensive lineman Nick Williams. Some might argue that one with me. Safety CJ Moore, offensive tackle Will Holden. We saw him in 14 games actually this year. Tyrell Crosby, remember him? Remember when he was an actual player?
Didn't even know he was on the team still. Yeah, didn't even know.
Because he's not.
Right.
Quarterback David Blau and linebacker Josh Woods. If it's me, I'm happy with getting rid of every single one of those guys. Maybe 1 or 2 I'd keep at a minimum contract, but what do you think? You got any arguments?
I think 1 or 2 you could say, hey, they're, like you said, good locker room guy or something like that. But for the most part, you can find that and you're almost rolling the dice on, hey, maybe the guy that you picked up instead of those guys pops. But those guys, we've seen them. Sure. No real pop there. So I would let them walk.
Let them walk. So you're saying get them all out of here.
Yep.
All right. Would. Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. The only ones I'd think about are Nick Williams, but I think he stands in the way of Onwuzurike, and maybe David Blau. But if Tim Boyle was good enough that Blau was behind him, I don't want to know what Blau would do in a game.
Exactly. So, I was actually surprised that Blau didn't get a look, because that, like you said, that surprised me that he never even got a shot. Like how bad is he? Because Boyle's out there just slinging nothing. So.
Yeah, with a broken thumb.
Yeah.
It was not good. So that's the next name on our list, Tim Boyle. You want to bring him back on a cheap quarterback contract to compete for a backup QB job?
Yeah, and I like what you're doing there. When you bring a guy up, give a range of where we could get him, right? So if we bring him back, it'd be like it's a cheap deal. I would not. I don't know the quarterback market fully right now, but you either are going to have a rookie that you're like, hey, let's see what you got, or there's a bunch of guys out there. I just think, hey, we tried it. I like his strong arm, but there's just I just don't feel good with it anyway.
Yeah, the accuracy is not great. And I think the other thing too is Goff played really good games opposite when Boyle played those couple games at the end of the year, and Boyle was still garbage. He was still really, really bad.
That's right.
So the offense was clicking. It was on all cylinders, and it just wasn't clicking with him. And I understand you're going to have a drop off with your backup QB, but we also have to understand we don't have a top tier starting quarterback either. So the drop off shouldn't be as bad. And it was bad. I say go after a rookie quarterback, or there's someone that would be better fit for this offense out there. So, all right, that's fine. Josh Woods, I already said him. Let's go wide receiver. Let's go Hodge. Let's go Kadarius Hodge. He had 13 catches this year, 150 some yards. he made his money and will make his money in special teams. He's been a gunner. He actually is a very, very good special teams player. And he popped a little bit at the end of the year. I think most of those yards came in that 140 or 50-yard catch. But you have any interest in bringing Hodge back, it would be as a fifth receiver, special teams guy.
Yeah. Another guy there, I don't have any interest in him just because of, again, at that fifth receiver special teams guy, you're just looking for some juice, just kind of looking for something. And yeah, I wouldn't mind if we did, it's fine. But yeah, he's somebody I'd look to try to find somebody else, a rookie, something like that.
I don't want him because if we get him, that means our wide receiver room isn't as deep as it should be. Yeah. I don't think he should be a fifth wide receiver anywhere.
No. And we got Cephas coming back, and we'll see what that looks like. But next one.
Absolutely. Yeah. We got more Dean Marlowe, safety.
Dean Marlowe, he
popped in the back half of the year, man.
Yeah, when I signed him, I'm like, Dean Marlowe, look him up, Buffalo Bills. I'm like, get myself all juiced up. But he didn't do anything the first half of the year, and then he did do some more. So I like him as a backup safety. What do you think?
Yeah, I like him as a backup safety. I think it's either him or CJ Moore, who we already wrote off, and he took reps from CJ Moore as the season went on. I think he's the better player. I have some interest if you can get him at a vet minimum based on years of service. Yeah, some interest. All right, this next guy, I don't care what you say, we better bring him back. Jason Kabinda, the fullback, the big nasty. Let's go. I love this guy, and so does Dan Camp.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, because it looks like we're going to use a fullback. We're going to use a little bit. He caught a ball. If you ever watch that.
Thank you.
In slow motion, though, it's watch that in slow motion from like the end zone view. Anyway, he's fumbling it all over. He finally gets it. But anyway, I
made a one-handed grab here.
Yeah, I like him. Bring him back because he'll be cheap. Bring him back. Half the teams in the NFL aren't looking for a fullback, so he'll be.
Exactly.
I'd bring him back.
Bring him back. Let it be cheap. Okay. Josh Reynolds, wide receiver. Ooh. Let me give you some stats on him. 19 catches, 306 yards. We brought him in, I think, really with like 6 weeks to go in the season, 6-7 weeks, right? He missed a couple weeks, a couple touchdowns. Where are you at? I'd like to hear where you're at, and I'll give you my thoughts. I want to talk for a second on this guy.
I love that he provided something, him and St. Brown. It was something. Just anything. And we were so desperate that I think we could fall guilty or fall trick to like, oh my gosh, thank you, Josh. But it's like, we were so bad that him just like catching a 10-yard pass seemed like Randy Moss. So it's like, I would bring him back, on all these, you could say, hey, I'd bring him back at the right price, but he's really one that's like, dude, you were cut, like we'll bring you back at the right price. But anymore, if he's looking for some, wide receiver number 2 money or something like that, then I'm good with letting him walk. But if he's like, if we get him at the right price, I really like him. I liked him
under 4.5 million. I like him. I like him kind of where we got Tyrell Williams last year in that price range. And I do enjoy that. And I think the one thing that can't be overlooked is the connection that he has with Jared Goff. They were together in LA, right? And now they're together again in Detroit. When they were apart from each other, they both struggled. I know it's a weird connection, but Reynolds plays his best ball when Goff is his quarterback throughout the year. So I do like having someone where a quarterback trusts. I'm not saying he's your number 1 receiver or number 2 even, but he's a good guy to have as a depth receiver, as number 3, as number 4, as an outside receiver. Good height, decent speed. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go. Why not? All right. Center, Evan Brown. Was garbage in preseason. I remember all the beat writers talking about how bad the whole backup offensive line is, but ended up playing the majority of the season for Ragnow, and in my opinion, did okay. He only gave up 1 sack, and I know centers don't give up a lot of sacks in general, but he did well enough that you didn't notice it being a problem. And I think that's good enough for a backup center if you can get him on, again, another like a vet minimum type deal, or like 1-2 million.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, that's center is one of those positions where you just don't want to goof around with it. We got our all pro guy, and we also got a guy that just showed he's going to come in, because realistically he's going to play 1 or 2 games next year. I mean, that's how it should be. So love it. Bring him back. Unless you can find someone cheaper, because backup centers, like when you're backing up an all pro center, like who cares?
Yeah, you don't expect them to play much.
Yeah, he should not be out another year. The odds are
cheapest option. All right, I'm interested to see your take on this. Wide receiver Khalif Raymond. I'm going to give you some stats here. I think this is going to surprise you a little bit. If you under 50 catches, where would you go with that?
Under.
Okay, under, but not by much. 48. 48 catches. I did not think he had that many. 576 yards and 4 touchdowns. Don't forget the 21 punt returns for 236 yards, a little over 10 yards punt return. What do you got?
I like him. And again, same thing. If we can get him at the right price, because again, he's a number 5 receiver really in the league, and he's a special team.
The backup slot receiver.
Yeah. So I like him. What I always default to is just, do you have some speed? Like at the end of the day, you're not big, you're not fast, or you're not big, you don't have the best hands or whatever, but man, do you have speed to give you a chance? So I like him, but if he wants any more than just a low contract, I'm good with trying to find somebody else there.
I'm good with bringing him back on what he had last year. I think it's that simple. All right. We might disagree on this one. Linebacker Alex Anzalone.
Look at the next.
Everybody says it differently.
Look at the next 2, and we'll talk about both of these guys.
Okay, you want to talk both of them?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to talk about AA. You want to talk about Alex Anzalone, and you want to talk about Jalen Reeves-Maybin.
Yeah, I'll take Jalen at first, and you. Well, let's do Anzalone real quick.
Okay.
I really like Anzalone. Again, we got all these guys in these 1 year. That's the perfect thing.
Yeah.
I think Anzalone is a perfect special teams backup, but plays quite a bit. Because of injuries, he's going to play quite a bit. Guy, he's not your everyday starter. But if we don't have that talent there at linebacker, then he's going to have to do again for us. But hopefully we have a better linebacker. So Anzalone, I'll just say this. Anzalone, I would bring back. Jalen Reeves-Maybin, I would let walk. What are your thoughts?
Okay. So Jalen Reeves-Maybin, I would bring back. Anzalone, I would let walk. And the only reason for this is simple, is when Anzalone was out for the last few games, Jalen Reeves-Maybin came in. He was all over the field. And he was all over the field really when he got the opportunity halfway through. And maybe I'm just being partial because I did a video where one of my big takes before the season started was that Jalen Reeves-Maybin would be a starting linebacker for this team this year.
Yeah.
And we re-signed him. So I think I did a video on that. But anyways, it's one of those things where maybe I'm a little partial to him. I just think that he has a little more athletic upside and he's a little less injury prone. So because anybody's less injury prone than Alex Anzalone.
Yeah.
So I don't mind bringing them both back. It's just when you start bringing everybody back, I don't want to bring everybody back because we're a 3-13-1 team. We have to get rid of some, because at some point you have to be like, it's not good enough. The question is, are these the guys that aren't good enough, or is it the top tier talent that's not good enough? I think it's the top tier talent, but that's a different video for a different time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
so
the top tier
I bring back Reeves-Maybin.
Yeah. Okay. And the thing I'd say about Anzalone and why I like him is in that first 8 games of the season when we didn't have, nothing good was happening. He was the only guy just kind of there making something happen in a terrible team, terrible defense. And like you said, though, the injury part I always lean on that. Can you just stay on the field? And for as much as he did play, I feel like he was on the field quite a bit, but yeah, injury prone, I would be good. This is another one. I'm good either way. We bring both back because we feel like, hey, these guys can kind of settle the linebacker room. Great. Both of them hit the road. I would be so fine with that too. Jalen Reeves-Maybin is not he's not a starting linebacker. He can get in there when he needs to, but he was playing down in and down out. It's like, oh, that's just brutal. So
you don't like that, huh?
We kind of agree.
That's how I felt about Anzalone.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's funny. We kind of agree and at the same time disagree because we agree that I am good if both these guys go. But
okay, same.
Yep.
All right, this next one we're going to disagree on. Defensive end Charles Harris. Dude has 7.5 sacks, 72 tackles from a DN position. I don't think anybody expected him to play the run that well. 65 tackles, sorry. A couple forced fumbles, fumble recovery. He was kind of one of those cool situations. He was a former first round pick. Hadn't panned out in Atlanta, and we got him, and he had by far his best year as a pro. The question is, how much does it take? I've been hearing numbers somewhere in the 6, 7, 8.5 million per year range. Do you want to bring back Charles Harris?
I don't want to bring him back at that at that money. And I think he can go out. He had a good enough year where he can go out and get a decent contract. And I would like to bring him back, but I don't think we will, just because he had a good enough year where somebody's just going to overpay him a little bit. And we're just not at that point right now in our franchise rebuild. And I think he leaves.
Okay. So we don't disagree. I wouldn't bring him back. And the reason I wouldn't bring him back is I have a few here. Number one, Okwara coming off the Achilles might be coming back. Yep. Number two, I think we're all anticipating a defensive end pass rusher with the number 2 pick. We don't need that many. I know you can't have enough pass rushers. I get it. But you can have enough mediocre pass rushers. I promise you that much. And number 3, when Flowers wasn't playing at the end of the year, it gave this random guy that you could tell was not an athletic beast at all, Jesse Lemonier, however you pronounce that guy's name. He got a few sacks, like he got a couple sacks. He got in there. Tackles, like he's in there. Well, okay, that he's doing exactly what Harris is doing. I think some of it is simply the defense that Aaron Glenn has them in that position. So I think Harris, while he had a good year, they just found a skill set that he had and they put him in a position that he succeeded. That's what you should do with people. I don't think that means now you have to pay him $8 million because you had a good scheme for him.
Yep. I totally agree that the scheme was great. And we did a lot of just all out blitz type of like, we're going to live and die on this. So it's like, somebody's going to get a blitz or someone's going to get a sack, so so we agree on that one.
Good. All right. Final one, Tracy Walker. Safety. You know who this is. Led the team in tackles. I mean, like over 100 tackles, only 1 pick, by the way, which I thought was kind of interesting. But Tracy Walker over the field this year. All over the field.
The guy I love,
timing, and I contract love year.
And I loved so I'll just say with Tracy Walker, I just look at, he was drafted into the, terrible Patricia regime of, you could tell he's confused. He then goes to strong safety. It's COVID. And then he just raved about Dan Campbell, raved about Aaron Glenn before the season,
he
after
loves
the season.
It there.
Yeah, you could just like, that's somebody that feels like they're playing well. They're seeing things well. He's not like, I'm not really sure. So I've always liked him. I just feel like, man, he'll come on, but he hasn't had a chance. So I would bring him back because I think he wants to come back. And again, you can't overpay for him by any means, but we need, our safeties are bad. Our secondaries needs to be shored up. He's a guy, and then we can look different places for strong safety, but I like him. I would bring him back.
So you'd bring him back. I would bring him back too. And I think it's going to take about that 7, 8, 9, even.
And I'm
million.
Okay with that.
Yeah, because he's a good locker room guy. He kind of was the leader of the defensive backs this year, and he's bought in. He is absolutely bought in. And are you ready for something scary just on the side of this? Tracy Walker, tell me if there's another name that I'm not thinking of, is now by far likely the best player that was drafted by the Quinn Trisha 3-year regime. Like, that's ridiculous. Like a safety, 3rd round safety out of a small school. And it's just like, this is the guy that's still here. Like, I mean, I get it. You got Swift, but like Hawkinson. But you'd expect Hawkinson to produce. He was a number 8 pick.
Yeah. And exactly. and that is, so I like him. I think he just, like you said, he's a guy that is like, all of a sudden you look around and he's one of the, not the leaders, but it's like, he's one of the guys of the rest are just in and out. He's kind of been there. So I like it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's it. That's all of them. The only thing we have left is the exclusive rights free agent, which basically means we can bring them back really quick on a 1-year minimum deal. So I'm going to rip through these names. You ready for it?
Yep.
And you tell me any that you want. All right. Rashad Berry, Scott Daly. That's the long snapper. Jalen Elliott, punter, Jack Fox. Yes, please bring him back. Mark Gilbert, Sia, Godwin Igwebuike, vet minimum. You bring him back on that thing? You bringing him back on the minimum?
No.
Tom Kennedy. He's been a Lions wide receiver that doesn't ever play in NFL games. And if he doesn't get catches. Tommy Kramer, the offensive guard. That Jesse Lemonade.
Lemonade.
The lemons. Lemonade. Let's go. Ryan McCollum, the 3rd string center. Riley Patterson, kicker. Bring him back.
Yes.
Bring him back.
Sign him to a 10-year deal.
10-year deal to never
I would
kick a field goal over 50 yards.
All those specialists, I would bring them back, right? Your kicker,
Bring
your
them back.
punter, and your long
Yes.
snapper.
I think I bring those guys back, and I bring back Brock Wright, the tight end, to be a third or fourth tight end.
Yep.
And I think that's what I bring back, because vet minimum, all you want is a guy that can provide depth and play special teams. That's it.
And we got a great.
So that's why
punter.
Igwebuike might be a thing too.
Yeah, Igwebuike. I mean, the reason I'm like, what's up with it? Why does this guy play? Well, he fumbles, and that's just, I mean, it's so huge. It's funny. The longer you watch the game of football, the more you realize turnovers are just the game, and when you can't hold on the game. So, no, that's good. I love the options we have there. That's huge, and that's our guys we want to bring back. So.
Yeah, it's not a ton, but it's also not a ton of money to spend. And we have about 30 million in cap space right now. And it could be more. We'll do another video on the cap space, because I'm a cap nerd. So
love it.
Cool, man.
Well, no, good one. We'll close this one out for now. If you like the Lions, like the Pistons, consider subscribing, and we will see all of you on the next one.
See ya.